Well, and I think it's real interesting when you look at, thank you for the shout out, first of all.
It's honest. It's not coerced here.
But when you look at, when organization missions align, and from an alumni relations standpoint, you're looking to create inspired experiences. For us at Club Colors, we pride ourselves on creating inspired brand experiences. So these naturally align and helping you create inspired experiences for your alumni. And I think anytime you've got that sort of dynamic between the mission that you hold and how we can help you achieve that mission and help you reach that end goal and that return on what you're trying to do, that's where beautiful memories can be made. So I love that you share that mindset, and I think it's something that makes it pretty simple for us to really bring creative ideas to the forefront for you.
Absolutely. And you all bring perspective across the industry too. I mean, much like CASE enables connection among different institutions, you see what other institutions are doing, and you're very ready to share any ideas that might have popped or gone well, or were proved challenging for institutions. Yeah. So it's really helpful to have partners that really are ready to share that and are honest about when things work and when things don't.
Yep. I think we see both sides of the spectrum when it comes to this is a great idea, or maybe that's not the best idea, and here's why. But happy to be resources, in that expertise, much like a professional network in that regard. So one thing I think is always interesting is you look at your alumni, you look at the institution you represent, and there's things that are unique to Northwestern. There's things that are unique to that Northwestern experience, and frankly, the style of student that you ultimately have coming through your doors. What makes NU alumni a little unique, a little different?
Yeah, they're very high achieving. Most of them, and this was said actually at the last lecture, is that the professor was saying that a lot of you probably followed all the things that you needed to do to achieve everything that you needed to do to get to Northwestern. We're talking probably every single student was the class president or president of 40 clubs in high school, and then continue on doing that as undergraduate students at Northwestern. They're very high achieving. I did not go there, so it doesn't sound as braggy as I think it might, but it's a very academically sound institution, consistently within the top 10 of U.S. News and World Report rankings. Yeah. So it's a very high quality academic institution. But I think what's also special about it is that it's part of the Big Ten. So though it might have Ivy League caliber academics, it also has that idea of like what you think of, or what many people think of when they think of the collegiate experience, is that you've got Saturday football and tailgating and just big time athletics overall. Our women's lacrosse team just finished second in the NCAA tournament. Really high quality athletics experience, but one that is tied to really high achieving academics and world-class researchers, and really being on the cutting edge of so many different functional areas. You can't look at many industries in the world, and we're talking from hard sciences to the arts, where there are so many alumni achieving at the highest level. We have two of the late night hosts, Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers, are Northwestern alums. They walk the same paths and buildings that many of our students do today. And then you have folks who are solving real world problems about climate change, decarbonization, and discovering medicines to solve world diseases. All of these things exist within one institution, and I think that's really special.
Yeah, and I think you look at the different college ofs that exist across campus, and they're all going to pride themselves on certain things that make them stand out. Maybe that's a driver for what draws students to the university. And Northwestern's got a fair amount of those, where you've got folks in Kellogg, and you got folks in McCormick and Medill, and all these different pockets across campus that draw students for a specific reason and create impactful alumni that enter their work field and enter their craft wherever that might lie. And that's a really cool thing to tap into and engage with as an alumni engagement professional.
It makes my job easier.
Yes. When it comes to really, I think you look at the value add that alumni engagement has. How would you kind of sum that up for what an alumni engagement brings back to the university?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about. I think as our vice president notes, David Lively. He says that the ultimate expression of connection to an institution is putting your financial resources behind that institution, so donating to the institution, and that is extremely valuable. But he also notes, and many professionals in our institution note that you don't necessarily get to your multi-million dollar gift without engaging with the institution first and feeling some sort of direct connection to the institution. Either,
People aren't going to come out of the blue and just give $100 million.
I mean, sometimes they
Might.
do, but most of the time they don't. Uh, you'll have those experiences
Yeah.
occasionally, but you're gonna start with, I mean, New Chapter, New Neighbors, and we've been running that program for 10 years now.
And what is New Chapter, New Name?
That's our Welcome to Your City event.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Right.
Yes, that's our Welcome to Your City event that I mentioned
Okay.
a little earlier. That where it's on the same
Yeah.
day as the first day of classes back on campus, and shows you your Northwestern community, wherever you may be throughout the world. So, I mean, we've only been running this for 10 years, and I'm sure that there are some folks that have attended there that have been giving at consistent levels, or maybe to our major gift level, they could be getting there. But I would imagine that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that there might be somebody who says like, oh, I'm giving this $50 million gift, $100 million gift because I had this meaningful experience where I continued to build my Northwestern community at this first engagement experience. So it really is, for many people, the start of that or the continuation, I should say, of that relationship that we've hopefully been evoking over time to drive them towards, though not necessarily for everybody. And we wouldn't necessarily say that everybody needs to or should be giving at any level. Like, we appreciate any gift at any level, but some people's experience could be strictly through that engagement experience, and that's so valuable to our work anyways, because they're serving as brand ambassadors. And though we might not have necessarily a dollar figure that we can put on that, there is value in that, to be serving as in that ambassador role and showing how successful Northwestern alumni can be in whatever pursuit they're taking.
Yeah. I think that's interesting when you talk about the different levels of giving and how folks engage in that regard. It's something that we've seen different schools handle different ways, whether it's tiered gifting or it's anyone that gives anything, this is what you get as a gift. How have you used branded items to really engage with those alumni through time?
Yeah. I mean, certainly we have tiering, and we have different teams that are working with people at different giving levels, from our annual givings, the folks who are giving any amount on a regular, consistent basis, or any amount at all at any point, up through our principal gifts team that is managing the folks that have named buildings on campus. And again, we try to show gratitude and thankfulness for a gift at any level, because somebody is offering their hard-earned money to the organization, and that tells us that they care about the institution in some way. So we do have a variety of different branded items. I mean, for a lot of we try to brand everything, of course, like every event. So even
I can remember air fresheners.
Yeah, we did provide air fresheners, and that was only for giving us an update to your address. So
Right.
I mean, that's such a critical thing, is knowing where our alumni are is so helpful for us to understand where do we program and where do we put resources.
Right.
So just giving us your address information so that we can better serve you. We also want to thank you for taking the time to fill out that survey, by providing you with that branded item. So at any level, we try to recognize folks. And I mean, certainly at our events, we have giveaway items that we want to ensure that anybody can grab at any time. And then for speakers and for folks that are volunteering their time, we tier that up a little bit and have something that has a little bit more monetary value to it.
A little gusto behind it.
Yeah, a little yes. A little design and thought. And then all the way up again through high level donors that are that we're giving them probably very customized items that really speak to their particular experience with the institution. But we always want to think about what's going to be meaningful for somebody, regardless of their giving level, that what is going to be continue that connection with the institution.
Yeah, we talked a couple times today about that air freshener, right? Has there been a piece that's been your favorite throughout the years, as far as maybe it's a customized piece, a branded piece that you've either heard some buzz about or that you just liked personally?
I love the buttons for all the athletics events.
Yeah.
I have in my cubicle, I have a whole wall of every single button for all of the programs that we've done. We usually do them for reunions or homecoming and reunions. We do them for our athletics bowl games, or any athletics events really, and the NCAA tournament, when we've participated in that. That each one is unique and interesting, and it's created this nice collection that I have that helps to. I mean, for me,
It's like a legacy wall.
Yeah, it
it
brings
is.
back
It's a
memories
legacy
too.
wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a legacy wall, and it evokes good memories. Like
Yeah.
I can look at that and be like, oh yeah, I remember being in Tampa for the Outback Bowl, or I remember being in Las Vegas this last winter, and the challenges or the fun experiences that we had in each of those things. It helps to evoke that memory, which I think is so critical of a branded item. Is it's taking you back to that space, and
Yes.
taking you back to that memory.
I love that. I think that's such a fundamental thing for how we think through projects, whether it be for alumni relations, student activities. It doesn't matter what function of campus, trying to come up with ideas that serve that purpose. So it's not just a thing to give out a thing. You're giving out something that's going to evoke that memory, evoke that experience. And that's how I think you get really smart with how you're investing in branded items. And a button, of all things, it's a pretty cost effective thing to create a pretty memorable moment.
Very shippable.
And then very shippable. But that's exactly where I think we can step in and help be a resource for folks too, is think through these things. If you're navigating a smaller budget, or if you want to try to come up with, well, how do I think that $50,000 donor? There's different spectrums of resources that are out there in our space. And it's really cool to just hear how professionals in your space operate and try to navigate those things with the end result being creating an experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to, I think, these experiences you've created, we've done some pretty interesting projects through the years. The Ireland game in particular, I think, is just such a unique destination event in another country across the pond. What went into executing that project and that event?
Yeah, that was a long project. I mean, where the NCAA tournament gives you 4 days to really execute a plan, we were working on that for the better part of 2 years.
Okay.
And in 2 years, 2 COVID years too. So, I mean,
Two
we
interesting years then.
Yes,
Yes.
very very interesting years. So, that we really wanted to create some branding that also had some Irish elements to
Yeah,
it.
tie into the theme and
yeah.
the atmosphere.
Exactly. So we had to be thoughtful about it too, because we also don't want to be seen as promoting negative images of
Sure.
Ireland, or really leaning into, I mean, like Guinness and drinking and things like that are
It's a fine line to
evocative.
tiptoe.
There is. But we did want to ensure that we were using our brand and using it in connection with some imagery that ties to Ireland. And we came up with a number of things. I mean, some of the things that were both produced by Club Colors and by, so like our brand partners at Under Armour,
Sure.
that created Irish flag athletics logoed items that my one quarter zip, I call it my jealousy maker, because when I wear that, people really are like, oh, you got to go to Ireland. And I was like,
Oh.
yeah, it was fun. It was good. But I mean, using a lot of shamrocks and
Sure.
and incorporating purple and green is not exactly the easiest thing, given that I mean, to me, it pulls out the idea of Barney, the dinosaur.
image,
Yeah. But
My mind went to the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
also there, Donatello, the smart one.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's
He's the Wildcat.
yeah, exactly.
Big in our household.
He could have gotten a Northwestern,
Yes.
I imagine. So but we all work together to create some items like our branded towel
Sure.
that has just some, I wouldn't even call it's not subtle elements, but it has those elements in it without making you think of a giant purple dinosaur, purple and green dinosaur. That there are some nice items that we were able to, again, also shippable, like, because we had to take these
Well, you-
international.
You can't drive them to Ireland.
No, we
Yeah.
did not drive them to Ireland. So so shippable items
Sure.
that really people could again, it's the creation of a memory, or creation of the opportunity to evoke a memory
Yeah.
that we branded.
And I would imagine any of those products that people walked away with from that event, they reflect on now and they remember what they did on that trip, what they did that game day, what they did during their time in Ireland.
Yeah.
And it evokes all of that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to clarify too, that event, right? That was the football game a couple years ago, Northwestern. I think it was against Nebraska, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
correct.
Yeah, it was our
We talked
one
about the
victory
event, didn't
that
really
year.
Yeah.
talk about what it was, but
Yes.
pretty cool event over there, obviously in Ireland, which is awesome.
Yeah, the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. So it's a once in a lifetime thing, it feels like. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to get the opportunity to go again, but I'm not sure that Northwestern will come up again. So it would be nice to, but
It would be
Notre
nice.
Dame gets invited multiple times.
Maybe play Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
There we go. Speaking of events, November, big primetime event for you. Homecoming and reunion weekend. What does this year hold? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's going to be a different experience for us. So Northwestern is in the midst of building a new stadium. We tore down our old stadium and are building on the same footprint. So the unique challenge of not having a football facility on campus, or well, not currently having it, but our athletics colleagues are in the midst of constructing a temporary stadium on the lakefront, which is going to be really interesting. But we knew that being in the Chicagoland area, there's certainly a number of stadiums that we can engage with and talk to.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. And we've had this great partnership with Wrigley over the years. And so we're playing against the Ohio State University at Wrigley, November 16th for homecoming. So I think that creates, I mean, much in the same way that playing a game in Ireland does, an opportunity to brand homecoming and reunions in a different way. And I mean, maybe pull out some elements of being in a baseball stadium. I mean, we're not new to that experience. We played, I think, 3 or 4 times, I think, in Wrigley over the past few years.
Yeah.
And so this won't be a new experience for us, and we'll be playing at Wrigley twice this year. So the subsequent game against Illinois will also be at Wrigley Field. Chicago, Wrigley Field, I mean, are very, very iconic space.
Yes.
Wrigley Field is an iconic space in the Chicagoland area, and it has some design elements between the ivy, the
marquee,
scoreboard, the marquee, that are very notable that we could probably incorporate into some of our design work, as well as programming around that Wrigleyville area that I think that will be appealing to a lot of folks when we're down there for our homecoming and reunion programming.
And that whole area has been built up and developed so much over the last 5 years. I would imagine that helps make this a wonderful experience on top of the incredible venue that you have and those historical touch points you have with it being Wrigley Field.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be plenty of opportunity.
When it comes to really, I think, what makes Northwestern different, we talked a lot about, the level of student and what draws that style of student. I think I saw through Forbes the other day, there's the new Ivies, and Northwestern falls into this new Ivies category of 10 public and 10 private schools that are creating students that are standing out in the marketplace and desirable to hire. Is there anything that goes into really that identity of carrying yourself like an Ivy and making sure you're creating branded items that engage with your constituents in the appropriate way?
Yeah. Part of our brand identity when we relaunched it in a few years ago, I can't remember the exact year, but one of the taglines that we were using is "and is in our DNA." And that was really about how our students do a multitude of things, that our students aren't just one thing. They aren't just majoring in something in the School of Comm. They're doing School of Comm and the Beanan School of Music, as well as McCormick. They're doing engineering work. So thinking about the ways in which we can pull out that idea that they're a well-rounded experience, that they're not just doing hard sciences, but they're also succeeding in the arts. Much like I was saying, our alumni are successful in these in a multitude of fields.
Yeah.
That our students today are participating in all of those fields simultaneously. I don't think that there are many students that are single majors at Northwestern, and any ways in which we can continue to pull out that thread and recognize and honor and celebrate that our students are doing they contain multitudes, our students do, that any way that we can evoke that and continue to evoke that is going to move the brand forward and move Northwestern forward. It's wonderful to be considered alongside the Ivies, but I think that you'd find from a lot of Northwestern folks that we've always been right there.
Yeah, I was
we've
gonna
always
say,
been a part of that. So new
your mindset's already
Ivies
there.
might
Yeah.
might be might not we might quibble with the new piece of it.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Take that up with Forbes. But when it comes to, evoking all of that, at the end of the day, you're looking to make impactful experiences. Is there like a secret sauce you've found through time for what's important, those core things to any alumni event, whether it's a senior event, whether it's an alumni reunion weekend, a destination event in Ireland? Is there anything that you've found, just trends across all styles of events, that are fundamental to make sure it is impactful and you do walk away with that experience made?
Yeah, I think what we're trying to move into more, and I think it's hard to, or we're working through scaling it up, is the personalization of what your experience looks like. Because everybody's Northwestern experience, everybody's Northwestern direction, as we've branded it, is different, and not necessarily trying to impose one singular idea of what Northwestern is on somebody or what Northwestern is for somebody is so critical to that work. So we're doing a lot in the space of gaining better understanding of our alumni through our perception and interest survey, where we ask our alumni, how do you feel about the institution and what do you want to see from the institution, and using that learning to drive our programmatic elements, so that we're rather than saying like, oh, this researcher is great in this field, we think you'd be interested in this, we can say that with certainty that we know folks have expressed that they're interested in learning more about technology and applications of technology or health and well-being, and use that to drive our decision making as far as events go, as well as doing a better job of marketing towards our alumni based on those interests, rather than kind of blanket invitations to things, like knowing that somebody has attended alumni education events in the past and certain types of alumni education events in the past, and using that to build their particular invitation. And we've got a number of tools that we're implementing now to be able to do that in a lot better way, where not only can we drive some content that people are interested in, but also on the flip side, that we're talking to our alumni about the experiences that they're already doing, that they're connected to Northwestern alumni, fellow Northwestern alumni, that we're not necessarily the direct driver of that we're creating these organic communities of people that are creating experiences and events that are meaningful for them, and they're doing it through Northwestern, but not necessarily currently with the help of Northwestern. And we want to step in and be a facilitator of that, or send out a package of items that they can give out at their events. So I'm working with these recent alumni who are in New York, who are in finance, that really want to create this community of Northwestern alumni who are working in finance. And I didn't do anything to create that. They're doing all of that work, but I can help with marketing it. I can send them out some branded items so that it is a Northwestern event, and that we are, again, that conduit to that experience that they're creating.
I love that. And, I love that you tie it back to the conduit, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. One last thing I'll leave you with, Bobby, is you look at these young alumni to that point, they're, finance folks out in New York, using them as an example here. What words of encouragement would you give to young alumni that maybe haven't gotten involved, to maybe check out what you're doing through amazing work with NU alum?
Yeah. One of our past presidents of the NA board of directors, he talked about when he was starting his business, that he would cold email a lot of people to get informational interviews and try to grow his business and try to just get advice and build his network. And he had calculated out that he had something like a 96% response rate when he was contacting Northwestern alumni, versus people that just the general public.
It's that purple pride.
It's that purple pride. And when you can utilize that network, and there's no shame in it, you should use the tools that you have in front of you. And one of those many tools is this incredible network that you've built. And we've tried to build tools that can help you do that, whether it's through our webinars and programming, or through our mentorship platform, or through myriad other ways that we can help facilitate those connections for people. But utilizing that network to further your own aims is an important part of being part of your alumni community, and that extends to any institution, but certainly for Northwestern today, that I want them to do it through Northwestern.
Absolutely, get involved. When it comes to just real quick, we talked about the impact of the digital engagement that you have, and this last point brought this into my mind. Is you think through LinkedIn and the power of a network and connecting with your peers and other alum. Have you seen that be a resource that's built up, steam over the last couple of years? We've seen it on our side where higher ed has been using LinkedIn more than historically they have. So it's been just an interesting trend. And I'm just curious if you've also seen that on the alumni side of them engaging with you and your team through LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a robust space where people can not only connect with one another through our alumni group, through our private alumni group within LinkedIn. They can promote their products or their brands or things that they're doing. But then we can also promote our programmatic efforts that we're doing to an audience that we know is at least marginally receptive to career content if you're on LinkedIn. But yeah, we've seen every day I get the notifications as an admin for our LinkedIn group. And we have probably 5 to 6 people a day joining or asking to join our LinkedIn group.
It's outstanding.
So it's a constantly growing space for us, and we know how much, as I've said throughout this conversation, that one of the most powerful parts of being part of our alumni community is that network that you're building. And I think that our career content speaks to that, and providing some tangible resources for folks that go beyond just like, oh, you can connect with another person who also went to Northwestern, that we also want to provide those resources, and LinkedIn provides us a conduit by which we can promote those things.
Love it. More conduit.
Yeah, conduit. Get repetitive with some of the language.
It's all good. It's all good. I think this has been a great conversation, Bobby. It's been, I think, eye-opening to hear how you and the team engage with alumni, the different pockets that you have across your spectrum of alumni and generations that you engage with. And more than anything, thank you for coming into the club today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Bobby, this was fun. I know you shout out a couple people. Want to give you a shout out. Thanks for everything that you do with us, that you do for us. This has been fun. Thanks for coming to check out our home here at Club Colors, and this has been a fun time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys.
You're welcome, Bobby.